Hey everybody, this video is going to be a brand new overview. Um, Not really looking at things on my YouTube channel as for, you know, necessarily getting subscribers and things. It's more about documenting how I do things in my fish room. And so that anybody who's curious might be able to use that information, and also so that when I go to hopefully sell some of this, you can see where the quality comes from. So I'm going to do a quick video, hopefully 10 minutes or less. I don't want to be too long-winded, but there's a lot of information that I want to cover. Nothing too in-depth, just like I said, kind of touching on everything in the room and the idea behind it, and then the 1 or 2 breeding projects that I'm starting right now. And I don't want to expand really beyond that. I want to do a few things really, really well. And then a few things that I have just for fun of keeping the hobby. So right now, like I said, let me show you around the room. This is the primary tank in the room, where it's a 75-gallon, and I really just have rainbow fish in here and some tetras, and then a couple of misfits, holdover fish, if you will, from when I first started the hobby. Really long-lived fish, like the big frontosa that you can see in there. It's hard to see perspective-wise, just the video. I would guess that frontosa is at least 6 inches long, if not bigger. Like I said, that's a conservative estimate, but this is where, and I'll kind of come in here closer so you can see what I've got. Sorry about the glares, but it is what it is. It's just so you can see kind of the quality of care. I have some Bosemani and some turquoise, and then I don't know if you're gonna be able to see, this cracks me up all the time. This is one of my yo-yos in there. They like to play dead, and you would swear that something's wrong with them, and then they just get up and swim away. They're really goofy, and they love playing in the valve. And then out of this tank here, you can also see that I've got some pothos, just to help take some of the waste out of it. Let's see here. So this tank, I'm actually having some break-in issues in terms of just getting a balance with the algae and plants. You can see it's a pea puffer colony tank. So I've got only pea puffers, it's species only in here. And I've got some scuds that I live colony feed them on, and snails, and some worms. You can see I'm trying to get some plants to go in here, but I'm having some hair algae issues. So that's the one tank. It's just for a hobby anyway. But yeah, I'm going through some blackout stuff, trying to get some hair algae under control. One of the best residents in the whole animal room here is Reptar, the giant day gecko. He is full of attitude, and he likes my wife much better than he likes me, but we get along okay. So hello, Reptar. So moving along here, you're gonna come to our first series of, I would call it a rack system. This one is mostly, you can see a couple of these are 20-gallon longs, and then I have on the top this one here. Sorry, let me see if I can get the window glare to be any less. Nope. So this tank's just gonna be terrible no matter what. Maybe I can dim it down and that will help. So this tank up here, and this rack in general, is really geared mostly around breeding shrimp. And so this top tank here, I have some red cherry shrimp, And again, you're not gonna see a bunch of them. I have other tanks where you can see them better. This is one where I just try to line breed the best of the best. And so you'll see where they're coming from in another tank. Moving down the rack here is a stargrass that has grown out of control. I need to cut it back and distribute. But you can see in here one of the species of fish that I'm hoping to, you can see them doing their breeding behavior, their little spawning 2 males right over here. So I'm hoping to spawn some longfin mountain cloud minnows, white mountain cloud minnows, from this group. And I have some tubs. We're getting close to where it's weather that I can get them outside and really start breeding them in some numbers. So that's what I'm, one thing that I have yet to really start. Oh yeah, they're gonna do it for us right there. They're super fun to watch when they do that. And you can also see I have one type of, this is actually a tetra, a really small type of tetra. I think they're called flag tetras. I might have to check that, but yeah, I think they're called flag tetras. And when you feed them, you know, live food, baby brine shrimp, they really, really get colored up. They're pretty colored up right now, but they just go that one extra level when you feed them food. Otherwise, in this tank, like I said, I'm really trying to gear it towards getting some babies year round, and so I'm working on that in this tank, hoping to boost that by getting them out in tubs here pretty soon, within the next month or so. And then in here you'll never see the other residents. I have some pygmy cories, and some coolie loaches, and some amano shrimp, and a Malaysian trumpet snail problem. So let's go down to the next tank. So this tank is where you're gonna see one line of shrimp that I am trying to get going. And I'll tell you right off the bat, we are having, and this is why you know, I'm not selling any yet, but little bit of what I think is vorticello, and don't judge me if I'm saying that wrong. So my go-to has really been salt treatment, and it's right now, as far as I can tell, it's very, very slight. Look, you can see it right there on that guy that just popped up. So I have to get that under control here, but this is the blue shrimp tank that I'm getting going, and I would need to have cleaned up. Up in here I have some purple rasboras. You know, I wish I knew the name of these, but I don't. But they are rasboras of some kind. I don't think they're anything too extravagant. You know, I'll have to get the name for you later on those. And then hiding in the background, you can see them up in this corner right here. I have a bunch of, let me see if I can zoom in, chili rasboras. And you can see them pretty well. I'll try to hold steady for you. And there they are. Right there. And I would say, again, they're like 50% colored up right now. They get a little freaked out when you put a camera in their face. And so you can come down here and see one of my little, oh, where is he? Oh, he's on the, here's one of the auto sinkless right here. So all of these tanks are set up the same way. As you can see, substrate, I have an aqua soil, which is good for the shrimp. I have really naturally hard water with right around just north of 300 TDS, and then KH and GH. Eventually, due to the aqua soil, get I don't know, they get depleted, I guess I would say. So that's where you can see right here where I've added back in some crushed coral, And all of these tanks are just running off of air. So that means sponge filters. And in this case, I also have an air stone on the other side just to help with flow. You can see some crip in the front. I have some Swasser tang in here. And here's, in this tank and the bottom one, I have also colonies of scud that I am feeding to my pea puffers. But so far I haven't had a great deal of impact to the shrimp colony in here. But I am targeting, you know, the scuds pretty aggressively in terms of gathering them for feeding. So that's probably helping quite a bit. And we're gonna be longer than 10 minutes, so that's my bad, everyone. Hopefully you'll hang in there. Let's go to the other rack in the room that I've set up. And this one is a series of 10-gallon tanks with a 5-gallon on the end. This tank up here is purely just for QT. So it's empty, cycled, running. Just, you know, if there's anything that I want to take a look at, I can move it up in there and treat it as needed. So that's one step in terms of how I run the animal room that I think is, or the fish room, that's pretty important standard practice. So in this rack, let's go over, this is all about breeding guppies. And then I do have my first round of rainbow fish that I've ever spawned from the 75. So I'll show you those. But those were kind of an experiment. And so, you know, I'm just kind of figuring those out as I go. So let's start over here. And I have just one, well, so I have one specific line of guppy, and then another line that I'm hoping to hybridize in for some specific characteristics, but we'll see how that goes. So in here, in the slightly darkened tank, I have all of my pregnant female guppies. And this one you can see up there, all right? And then if I can find one of the other ones, they're called Tuxedo koi guppies. Now you can see one in the back. There we go. She is currently actively giving birth to these little guys. And I'm kind of letting them gather up a little bit before I go in there and see if I can get it to, before I get go in there and capture them and pull them out. And put them into the fry tank. But you can see I've been pulling them out all day. So she's just kind of putting out a little bit by a little bit, it seems like. So they're gonna be shy, but right now I only have a line of Tuxedo koi guppies. This female right here that you can see is an albino variation that I've not mixed yet. I've not bred anything with her. I'm hoping to do that next. But I just wanted to get a stock of Tuxedo koi going and see how that went. I was hoping to be able to show you the size because these female guppies are huge. But I'll have to do a separate video on that. You can see the two females in the back right there that are literally making the fry as we watch. So we'll move on. In this tank right now, it's just plants. So I have a bunch of, you can see my tiger lily. That's probably the one that I'm most proud of at the moment. I have some crip in the back. I'm growing some Java fern pups out on that log. And then some floating plant that I think is called anacris that I just like to use. In here is really mostly about the shrimp. So you can see these are where I'm getting red cherry shrimp from all over the place. And I also have some rili variety in here that I'm trying to pull from. Okay, so back to guppies. You saw the females. These are the males, okay? So one in particular, you can see the all red ones. These are a panda. I hesitate to say that because they really don't have, not panda, sorry, Dumbo. They really don't have that big of pectoral. I got them mostly for the color and that they're the same body shape as this guy. This guy right now is the dad for all of the fry that I have. He is the male to the females, same line of the Tuxedo koi. So I have made our first batch of babies in the tank next door. And you can see these are the adolescent Tuxedo koi guppies. Relatively small batch to start with. This was the very first batch that I had with them. And you can see the rainbows swimming around in there. There's only 3 that I have of the rainbows. This is just a grow out situation, okay? So once the rainbows and the guppies are no longer a similar size, you know, I'm gonna be able to sex the guppies and move them into the male-female appropriate tanks, okay? And then the rainbows will just be grown out until they can go into the 75 and not have problems with the adult rainbows, okay? And then the last tank on the rack here, I'll show you, is really a fry tank. Okay, that's why it's 5 gallon. I have just a bunch of guppy grass growing in here. See if I can even show it on camera. Yeah, you can see. So these are all of the guppy fry that I have been pulling out over really the last couple days. There, you can see them a little better. And these would all be the line bred, smaller versions of the ones I just showed you, Tuxedo koi. Okay, and they're just growing out in here with a bunch of yellow shrimp. And this is the only other line of shrimp that I have other than the reds and the blues. I also have yellows going. And let me see if I can get it to focus a little bit on that. Nope, not so much. You can see the yellows that I have, and then also there's some mono shrimp that just, you know, I like to have a mono shrimp around pretty much everywhere. Unlike the snails, which they're there, we just can't get rid of them, right? So I would say I have about 50 fry right now of the guppies, if I had to estimate. And we'll just grow them out into the other tank, and then as a mid-size grow out tank, and then from there they'll be sexed out into the full-grown male females, so that then I can specifically breed you know, the ones with the best traits. And right now, what I'm going for in terms of traits, very specifically and simply, I want to breed for the largest sized guppies, just purely based on that size. And then I also want to focus on the color intensity, and I think what I mean by that would be specifically color over, for example, making big ol' fins, or, you know, any other characteristic that, I don't know, I just like a slimmer guppy that doesn't have some of the issues that you see with bigger tail size and things like that. So the only other thing in here is the other terrarium, which is going to be a future crested gecko terrarium, and I don't have a crusty right now. This is just a future home that we're in the process of making. So, and that concludes all of the fish in the room right now. The only other thing that I breed specifically is on the bottom racks here. And this started from my interest in bioactive terrariums. So I have tubs of isopods, what are called roly-polies. And so one tub here is of what are called powder orange. And you can see, if I come in here, one of them right there. You can see him right there. Okay. And what they do is eat some of the waste, you know, that's generated, but really it's plant matter. Dried leaves, decaying leaf litter, they're detrivores. I was trying to see if I can spot any others, but not having any luck. So that is a powder orange. You can see it kind of like an orange color. It's not the best shot. Oh, there's two. There's one on the log right there. And again, you know, the gecko poops and the gecko sheds, and I also feed them, you know, to supplement, but the colony that they come from is kept down here in a tub, all right? Then over here, I have a different variety of isopods that are, you know, they're instead of Porcellio prenosis, these are Porcellio scaber. And I know it says dwarf tropical white. You can ignore that. That's a failed colony. So I don't actually have any dwarf whites in here, and that's kind of miraculous when you think about it, because everything I read says that dwarf tropical white isopods are like cockroaches, and you actually can't kill them that easily. But I managed to, and so all of these colonies have been going for well over a year, and I've never had any trouble with them. The third variety, don't judge me for my wiring under there, it's a work in progress, is the third variety of isopod is armadillidiums. These are what are called the yellow highlighted isopods, and I'm not going to be, oh, I might be lucky enough to be able to spot one in there, yeah, right there, and I have a good sized colony in here. So these are also, you know, a side hobby, but they really help out in the bioactive terrarium, so I keep them going. And that is the animal room, and all of it in a short 20-minute video, so only about twice as long as I first set out to do. And I guess I'll close on this nice shot of the 75 that I have. Let's see, making sure, I think for the future videos that I have to come, I'd like to do more in-depth videos on how I'm doing the specific breeding projects. So in the future, that would be my breeding project of Whitecloud Mountain Minnows, of these rainbow fish that you're looking at, and of the guppies that we just looked at as well. And then also doing videos on the ponds, now that it's pond season, and how I'm, you know, making my first mistakes doing that, and you know, documenting them for anyone's, you know, maybe future reference, if nothing else, for myself. And yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell the animal room that I'm working on. So thanks for watching. If you made it this long, congratulations, and we'll see you all later.